What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Bingetown TV and our coverage of House of the Dragon. So this is going to be episode 2, Rhaenyra the Cruel. And before we get into the episode, just a little Bingetown housekeeping because Jimmy's mad at me that I didn't do this last time. So if you're listening on our House of the Dragon feed, that's a separate feed from what Bingetown TV as a whole is. So we have our Bingetown TV feed, which has everything that we cover on it. We're covering The Boys, wrapping up Dark Matter, which was a fantastic ride. The Bear will be coming, and there's all of the shows that we cover on the main feed. So if you like what you're hearing here, just subscribing to the main feed is the best way to keep in touch with everything we do. And also subscribe to the House of the Dragon feed for sure, because if you're already listening there, you might as well stay there. But just for the future, if you want to keep hanging out, that's the best way to do so. Okay, and then small little reminder, if maybe this is your first time listening to us, Sir Kyle, that I just dubbed myself, I'm the book reader. I read Fire and Blood, so I will be the one, I guess, who has all of the background information and the knowledge. And then we have Rhaenyra the Cruel and Luke.
Dead Luke.
All right,
Dead Luke. Yeah. R.I.P. Luke. Will be our just pure show watchers. So watch Game of Thrones. Luke's actually read the Song of Ice and Fire books, but they won't really know any of the background. So that's where we're coming at you for, I guess, our perspectives on this episode and the show moving forward. So opening thoughts on this episode. We're trying to keep it pretty brief, this one, but just shooting from the hip here.
First of all, I'm going to apologize for this crazy setup I have right now on this lighting. I'm at my parents', so forgive me for that. It'll get better going forward. And the Wi-Fi is a little shitty too, so hopefully that doesn't cut out. But for this episode, I think I liked it better than the first. Very close. Neither are probably the best of the series, but this was an amazing episode. And IMDb currently agrees, and we're recording this later than we're normally going to be recording episodes in the future. So the IMDb rating is actually more accurate than it will be in like later podcasts. The first episode was an 8.4. This one was an 8.5. It'll probably come down and settle around 8.4. So it seems like everybody's agreeing that it's a great start to the season. I loved this. My two things I just want to say is Otto Hightower is so good on screen, man. He is so important to keep me interested in Team Green. And then the other thing I want to say is I've been calling for Sir Eric and Sir Eric to survive to the end to keep building up that conflict. Honestly, this is why I don't write the TV show, is they freaking handled that so well. I think that is a highlight of like a Game of Thrones just universe scene. It was so emotional and awesome. And I have a million things to say about it once we get there, but that was a powerful way to kind of just end episode 2. I know it wasn't the last scene, but overall, just a great episode. Fuck Miss Arya. Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Wait, so Luke, did you know that there was going to be like a big showdown between Eric and Eric at some point?
No, I assumed just because Game of Thrones likes to build up those sort of parallels and just make it more interesting in that way. Yeah. Exactly. Like, and it was just good. It made for good TV and it made sense for them to eventually fight. And I think like it could have used more build up, but it was definitely what we got was near perfect for me. Like the dialogue, the action, the impact, and what's going to come of it. And also like making me hate Criston Cole more than I already do, which God, I hate that man so much. I love your text, Kathleen, but I'll leave it for you to comment on that.
Yeah, so point for me on the death pool. I had guessed that accurately, but I should have guessed that then Eric would have then been like so overcome with grief and whatever that he would kill himself. I'm kind of upset at myself that I didn't like guess that. In general, we don't have to get too far into it, but I thought they were going to kill him anyway because they weren't going to be sure who was who. Like I thought they were just going to have to kill both because they didn't know who was who at the end of whoever killed the first one. But I'll be quick. Like Luke said, this episode was like a masterclass. I mean, specifically Reese as Otto, fan-fucking-tastic. And then Tom getting to flex as Aegon and being like just getting to be so angry and crazy and throwing shit. Perfect. So those two scenes were just like acting masterclasses. But I don't have to say more than that. I loved the episode. We'll get into it as we go.
Yeah, I'm wary of recency bias, but I think this is one of my favorite Game of Thrones universe episodes ever. I thought this was literally amazing. The acting, the writing, we got level like conflict that we're looking for. There wasn't like big blowout crazy scenes, but just this people sitting in a room, candle lit, going over all the political machinations that are needed. It's just, I just ate it up. I thought it was literally amazing. I don't think I have a single complaint about it. So, all right. Move into the episode. We'll start, as always, with a brief episode summary from yours truly. So here it goes. Episode 2, Rhaenyra the Cruel. Otto plans a funeral. Everyone at home holds their breath, waiting for a head to roll. Aegon bonks blood. Rhaenyra finally realizes she can't trust the most untrustworthy man in the Six Kingdoms. Ser Criston upholds the honor of the Kingsguard and plans a prank. Corlys admits he likes to dabble in BDSM. Aemon does Aemon things. Aegon gives his rat catchers the day off and some time to hang out, and then trades an old man hand for a steel fist after Otto gives him the business. Aegon cries. Two souls become one once more. Someone finally mentions Daron, and Ser Criston celebrates his promotion to hand by sticking one of his inside Alicent.
Wow, that's good.
That is episode 2. All right, so the way we break these down, these episodes, if the episodes allow it, is going to be Team Green, Team Black. We just like to do all their scenes in order. Just helps thing. We're not like jumping from Dragon to King's Landing, Dragon to King's Landing type of stuff. So opening with Team Green's bucket. This I just have is blood and cheese aftermath. So we have some quick scenes of like the servants being rounded up, Aegon smashing Viserys's Lego set. Thank you for sending me that Instagram post, Kathleen, earlier. Aemon's kind of looking around, and then the two biggest scenes here are going to be Otto and Alicent have that quick discussion, but the big thing we're going to probably talk the most about is going to be the small council meeting that occurs afterwards.
And yeah, L for Aegon, probably his only L up to this point in the season for destroying that map, because I loved Viserys's little toys. It's awesome. And then in terms of Alicent and Otto, for me, I just enjoy how they're like the heads of this. And even though they're not fully in control, because obviously King Aegon is, their scenes are always so important because they're doing the real scheming that plays out. And obviously the sons are always just the wild cards that they have to react to. So I love when they talk, but that's what I'll leave it just for right now, because I really just want to talk more about the small council. But if you have anything else to throw out there for the pre-small council parts there.
I'll just say it's interesting to see Alicent struggle with her sin of banging Cole all episode. We knew that was going to happen. And she just keeps trying to admit it to her dad the whole time. And he's just like, I don't want to hear it. We're good here. We're good. But yeah. And lastly, just smashing the Viserys' stuff. It's like great symbolism of just like any sense of like peace that Viserys was trying to hold. Aegon's just like, no, smash, bonk,
screaming, just screaming, I declare war, traitors and villains. Yeah,
literally.
I'll make a small comment on the Aemon scene. There's some foreshadowing going on here. We'll come back to it, I think, maybe later in the season 3, but it was a very, very well shot. We'll call it 10-second scene. So that'll be interesting.
Was it squint over the eye?
It was just him acknowledging that they were coming for him, right?
Yeah. And like the setting of him looking at the map and all that type of stuff.
Gotcha. Oh, that's cool. I want to go back and look at it now. Damn.
Things matter. They made a lot of very particular choices, let's say, this episode. And then the comment I'll make on Otto and Alicent speaking, which will lead us into the small council scene, is Otto immediately thinking of a way to use it to their advantage, where he's like, maybe not all is lost, or whatever he ends up saying, which then leads us to the small council where he's like, yo, we should plan a funeral, open casket for everybody to see. Yeah, that was pretty crazy.
I don't know, is martyr the right word that they're going to try and turn the heir into? I don't know if martyr fits in this context, actually, but it's really just a rallying cry for the small folk of King's Landing to solidify their claim to the throne. And it goes on to be explained in the Team Black bucket, but Daemon did really weaken Rhaenyra's claim by doing this indirectly, because if the King's Landing folk are going to be like almost like a buffer line of defense that actually believe in Aegon as being the king, that's just so bad for Team Black. So of course Otto is in his Tywin bag here, where he's always just using that anything to his advantage in the Game of Thrones fashion. So I just love seeing Otto be a schemer. It's just so enjoyable to see him be like an elite just Game of Thrones planner. And so just this whole scene was phenomenal from the acting for Aegon as well, where he just keeps getting more and more depth. And I know we all are Team Aegon as a character after episode 1. It's just now you get to see the anger and revenge side. It's amazing.
Oh, well, speaking of Otto, like he is the spin doctor. He's
Mhm.
incredible. He's so good. It's tough to watch because even as he starts talking and saying like Allison and Helena will be there, and Allison's like, fuck no. And you see Helena behind the scenes being like, I don't want to. Like it's tough. They're doing this thing that no one wants to fucking do, but they have to do it for the realm. And Allison at least knows her place. Aegon is just so overcome by grief that he can't see like what's the smart thing to do, which is good, right? It's been nice to see Aegon, show emotion, love his son. He keeps saying like he was my legacy, like all of these things, which was nice to hear and make Aegon like a more rounded character. But he gave Rhaenyra some great names this episode: the bitch queen of bastards, the smug cunt of Dragonstone. That's what I wanted to put, but I know YouTube is tricky with the C words, so
yeah,
I
don't know
wanted
if
to
that could
be
hang
the
out.
smug C of Dragonstone, but oh, it's so good.
Yeah, Otto just saying, let no one say I do not grieve, and then just laying out the plan is so funny and so classic. And I love Aegon looking at Allison being like, mother, like, let's talk some sense to these people. And she's like, I mean, he's kind of right, like I agree. And then the next thing Otto says is, yeah, and then we'll have the queen and the queen dowager behind it. And she's like, wait a second, why? I didn't agree to that. So that was just a good, Otto's just the guy, man. He just knows how to pull all of the strings of everybody in the room.
It's
I know we lo-
interesting. Sorry. It's
No, go ahead.
interesting that like Aegon immediately is like, it's Rhaenyra. Of course it's Rhaenyra. You can tell that they don't have any sort of relationship because I feel everyone else in the room kind of understands, and anyone who has known Rhaenyra, like Otto and Allison and even Ironrod, is like, I don't think it's Rhaenyra. It's probably not Rhaenyra. And then,
Mhm.
I mean, of course, they flip it on her because that gives them an incredible position. But it's just funny how someone like Aegon wouldn't even know to not think it was Rhaenyra because they don't have any sort of relationship. And if you knew her, you'd know that would not be her, and you would think Daemon immediately. No one even said Daemon's name in that small council.
Very
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. It's probably he who must not be named at this point to them.
Right.
Because yeah, they don't want him showing up on Caraxes. Two small things I'll say before we leave this scene is watching with like my family, and I remember thinking, like, how did they get the head? But Laris comes in here and literally says they found blood at the gate, at one of the gates rather, had Jaehaerys's head in a sack. We'll say that is what they say. So that's how they get that back, and then can't leave without mentioning that Aegon confronts Criston Cole and is like, "Where were you, my Lord Commander? Like, why were you not defending the sanctity of my family?" And he was abed. That's all he's got. And then him and Allison make eye contact. So
Is it implied that he should have been on watch?
don't think it's implied that he should have been on watch, but he's the Lord Commander, so it's like it's his job to make sure everybody's on patrol and everyone's protected type of deal. So
Okay.
it does fall onto him. Like the disgrace is totally his.
Yeah. When your
And-
direct reports fuck up, you're in trouble.
Are we going right to the torture scene too?
I was gonna go funeral,
Okay.
but that
That's
like
fine.
being all of it together.
Okay.
So this includes Allison speaking with Helena, which wild scene. The funeral itself, wilder scene, and then Blood getting his just desserts, let's call it, at the end of all of that. So those kind of three scenes caked together.
I am just slightly disappointed in Game of Thrones torture scene because the fall off compared to Ramsay. Like that was a little weak. Blood should have gotten way worse punishment. That's what I would say.
I for sure kind of thought there was going to be a juxtaposition of like Aegon knocking Blood's head off and Jaehaerys's head popping off, but they really didn't do that. I was expecting that. Didn't happen. Everyone was expecting Jaehaerys's head to pop off, but I thought it would be cool if like Aegon fucking chopped his head off in retaliation.
That would have been a scene, yeah, just like a flash, yeah.
Mhm.
So in the books, they say that Blood is tortured for 13 days.
Ooh.
So
that sounds about right.
Yeah, that's a slight difference. I think just for the sake of time in the show, he gives up the information that they need. They don't really need him after that. I honestly kind of like the portrayal of him like being so afraid immediately of like Laris and everything that's going on that he just gives up all of the info before they even touch him. And then at that point, they're like, okay, well, we can just kill him now. Aegon, all you, boss. So I don't mind. I just from the medium change, I think it kind of works for me. And yeah, the not to get into too many like grisly details, but like the stitching made me nervous. And just the wagon, they get stuck. And while them getting stuck was more of a device for Helena to explore Helena's emotions and feelings in the scene, I was like, oh man, there maybe things start to rock. They're closing in on the procession. Like this is 100% gonna happen, but I'm
So,
glad it did not.
Kathleen, let me ask you then, because I don't want Kyle's future knowledge. Like, what is our read on Helena? Because to me, I have no idea what she's thinking at any point.
Yeah, and as the resident Helena stan, as my one to watch in our hype episode, I have a lot of there's like a couple scenes that made me question. One, I've seen a lot of stuff when Aegon and Helena pass in the hallway, and even Tom after the episode who plays Aegon was like, they're communicating grief through a look, and I'm like, I just saw that kind of I read that as Aegon being like, I'm not dealing with this. Fuck off. It's interesting. Maybe they were trying to convey something. Maybe there was something in the script, like off the, obviously not written and not something for them to say. I don't know. And few things. One, I was like, why aren't there like Kingsguard people like pushing these normal folk away from them? I guess they were all trying to help with the thing being stuck, but I was like, one, get them away from her. She obviously doesn't like this. They should know that she's going to freak out. That's something that should be like insider knowledge to them. And two, with Helena, I just kept thinking how sorry I felt that like she got betrothed to her brother who ended up being king, and now her son's dead. She could have easily been betrothed to like Jason Lannister, and she's like off and just being like fine in another town. You know what I mean? It just sucks.
She could have been betrothed to Jace.
Exactly. Yes, Jason Lannister was a terrible pick, but I just chose
that was wild that you just pulled a Lannister out.
Yeah, you pulled like the first two letters and the sound of Jace. I'm like, okay, yeah, good call, Jace.
Yeah, Kyle started shaking his head, and he was like, no.
And then it was son Lannister. I was like,
that was dumb. I just picked the first person that came to mind that wasn't inside the Red Keep at this moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't have anything with like where she's going this season or what she's going to do. They haven't given her much at all except for grief at this point. So we'll have to see where it goes.
Yeah. And the scene before this with Alicent and them speaking, Alicent's not doing a lot for her as a mom, as a comfort.
No.
Helena doesn't really have anyone at this point. If Alicent's not behind her in her corner, like comforting her, then she really has no one that we've seen. Maybe you could say the handmaidens, not that we're seeing on screen, but man, it's tough where Helena is like, I don't want to do this at all. And Alicent, speaking as the Queen Dowager, is like, we have to, it's our duty to the realm and to the small folk. And like, that makes sense. But immediately transitioning into like what you saw last night, like trying to cover up and get ahead of the whole Criston Cole thing is just that was tough to watch. Especially the second time around was like, damn, like this is your daughter whose son she watched die. Like that's not the time
and
for this.
To parallel it with the end of this bucket, eventually she goes to consult's not the right word. She goes to like grieve with Aegon, I think, and then turns around and goes back to Criston Cole. So both cases are just awful motherhood right there. And is that what she was like in the first season? I feel like she was a little better as a mother.
So I read that last scene differently. I read it as she was going to go talk to him about Otto stuff and saw that he was grieving so hard because it was right after the Otto conversation, I think, that she goes. So I didn't think that was like, oh, let me go like console him. I feel like she was going to kind of be like, what the fuck are you doing, Aegon? Saw him grieving so hard and was like, I'll let him have his moment. But I agree.
I don't like that reaction though. I feel like as a mother, you still want to like.
Alicent is so young. Like you got to remember when she had Aegon, she was like 14 years old. And I think that she was just like forced into all of this. And she was basically just used as someone to produce heirs. And then her kids end up being like fucking mostly shithead. Well, not mostly shitheads, only Aegon really, but I don't know. And is that her fault too? Like, could she have raised them better? Who's to say? It's one big like chicken or egg kind of thing.
Yeah, it's tough. I think she is experiencing her world kind of burning down around her and has lost control of everything. And maybe let's say that Criston Cole's situation is the one thing she maybe can control because she has a level of authority and power over him and he listens to her, is the only maybe positive spin I can put on all of it. Not that that's really even positive, because she should be more at peace, let's say, with the fact that she just has to be a mother sometimes to her children instead of playing all these power games. So yeah, I think that's kind of the last thing we have here with this funeral, all these scenes. I will just mention the actual kind of line that they're spouting throughout King's Landing, being "Behold the work of Rhaenyra the Cruel, pretender to the throne, kinslayer, defiler of the innocent." That's just the propaganda machine at work, especially kinslayer. That's like a huge no-no. People do not fuck with that. So they're just riling up this propaganda war, which will be an important part of everything going forward. Otto obviously places a large amount of importance and stress on this propaganda aspect. So I think if Otto thinks it's important, it's probably pretty important. So we mentioned the Aegon and Helena passing in the hall. Two other small scenes that happen kind of interweaved here, just including Rhaenyra. Criston Cole watching them cleaning out Jaehaerys's room is, I just took that as him like really realizing and maybe soaking up the consequences of him being a D-bag and not being an honorable Lord Commander of the Kingsguard and totally flouting his duties to get some Allison action. And then Rhaenyra is just playing with Aegon and Viserys. I don't think there's really a ton there. I will say that there's some fun foreshadowing as well in this scene, but it's so obscure that it's really not worth it to even talk about.
I think,
but just for my clout in the book reader streets, just so you know, I was foreshadowing was there. I saw it. Okay.
I think Cole leading us into, you know, the Eric's like scene. Cole's always teetering on the edge of killing somebody, so something like this just like makes him teeter on the right. And it's just, the scene of Cole is so crazy. Like, it made me crazy watching him confront Eric and be like, "Where were you?" And I'm like, you're knowing where he was, it's so infuriating. But you can see Cole just being so guilty, and he doesn't know how to act. This is why he's just going to be the worst fucking hand, by the way. He's just, he's going to be so biased. Oh, it's going to be crazy.
And just a slight bit of context being that the scene actually right before the Eric stuff is just him and Allison very quickly. And I only bring it up to mention her saying to him, "You look like someone who's after absolution." And he responds and says, "There is no absolution for what I've done." And that, I said it out loud when I first watched it. That's a dangerous line. That's a dangerous mindset. Because I read that as like, he's like, I'm past the point of saving. Like, there's almost there's no more worse things I can do. Like, the balance is already too much to the evil that I don't even care anymore.
Yeah, he'll cross any line. And that's pretty much what he does with Sir Eric, where he's just deflecting all this blame onto him for some reason. Is that the scene that you texted us for, Kathleen?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So it's sad because Sir Eric is an all-star in this scene where he's actually defending his own honor and saying, like, I was with the king, which we actually saw that scene too. I hate it watching Criston Cole get mad and have the upper hand here. I just wanted to kick him in the face so fucking badly. And the smirk on his face, like this crazy kamikaze mission plan that he sends them on, or that he sends Eric on, it plays out in an interesting way. But the fact that he's saying, you have to go restore the honor of the Kingsguard, just blows my mind that Sir Eric fell for this. And that's going to be part of my hot take later, which I'll save that for a little bit.
I'll be honest. I loved this. I ate this up. It's just it's such good television, man. When he walks in, it's like, yo, your cloak's dirty. You're besmirching the honor of the Kingsguard. It's like, I love it. It's so funny. He's so hypocritical to the point that it's like actual literal comedy.
It is.
It is. But Kai, do you think that this is specifically for you because you read the books? Like, do you think there's a way that Fabian could have played this less villainous, or is this just like he's a villain? And I mean, I think Fabian's playing it gorgeously. I mean, but I hate him, right? I hate his absolute guts. So is there a way he could have played this lighter or no?
I would say with the way things are written, he's playing it. I would say it's more, they could have written it lighter versus performing it lighter. I think in the books, Criston Cole is more of like a military guy. You know, and I would say he honestly has more honor in the books. I think he totally is like slighted still for the Rhaenyra stuff, but like a lot of things we saw last season with him, like killing Joffrey at the wedding, like that happened in a sanctioned duel. Like with the stuff with the training in the yard, like when he fights Sir Harwin, Sir Breakbones, like that happens in a tourney. So like all of it is within like a very honorable situations. He doesn't actually do anything that's in like this level of insane type of stuff in the books. So I would say they've written him to be this almost cartoonish level of hypocritical projecting villain.
Yeah.
And I just, for whatever reason, whatever it may be, it started as a bit season 1, but I genuinely enjoy his part in this show. It's just, for whatever reason, I really like it.
And I will say, there's one line where Eric is like, "Bro, why doesn't Helena have a sworn shield? Like, she's fucking she's the queen. How does she not?" And do you think that's something that like Cole slipped up on? Like, that's something he didn't do. He's not great at a job. He just didn't do it.
Yeah, you would think theoretically, if he's not the sworn shield, I don't know if he could be one because he's the Lord Commander, but he's pretty much the sworn shield of Alicent, the Dowager Queen, which is probably a little bit of an odd thing that maybe raises some eyebrows. So yeah, that's obviously a big hole in his resume, let's say.
Yeah.
And this scene made me think of something, and tell me if this is a hot take. After this episode, I don't necessarily love the Rhaenyra and Daemon like inner fighting, but if Criston Cole wasn't on Team Green and he was on Team Black, I think I would be Team Green, like straight up.
Wow, is that your hot
Like,
take?
He is, yes, it is. It's part of it, and it's all related to Sir Eric, like where I hate him so much, and Rhaenyra and Daemon's like fighting is like starting to rub me the wrong way. It feels a little like I want them to align because Team Black is losing so much like on paper that I feel like if you threw the worst part of Team Green onto Team Black personality wise, I could totally just ride for like Otto and Aemon and Aegon. Like Aegon's killing it this season. It's all after these 2 episodes though. Like this is like a new thought that's starting to happen now. But like, man, dude, Criston Cole is my just like homing piece for hatred right now. Like he is the reason that I am rooting for Green's downfall.
Same.
Okay. I mean, I love it. I love to hear it. It's a good thing that, because I know you had said on the hype episode too that you were worried that it's so obvious and easy to just root for Team Black. So I'm glad that Team Green for me has the most compelling characters. This season, let's say they've given them the most, I think, to bite off and chew, which is for me been very enjoyable to watch. I love Sir Eric's. You are mad, sir. Just like finally someone says something to Criston Cole.
I mean, he had the best excuse in the world. He was like, "I was with King Aegon, you know, the king who I am sworn to."
Yeah. And I love Chris. I mean, we know it's pure projection. For me, it's so compelling watching this guy who is just stacking fucking transgressions and then immediately projecting all of them onto his underlings. For whatever reason, it makes me chuckle. But and then when he says what I think has no relevance, as if it's not all what he thinks and he's just doing what he wants as the Lord Commander, there's literally no end to the depths that he'll stoop to just do what he wants.
And so to be clear, I love hating him. I don't hate hating him.
Yeah, which is good.
Oh, it's the best. It's the best thing that Game of Thrones produces. Ramsay, Joffrey, like that's the like hatred bonds fandoms.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. That's a good little clip right there. And then I like the ending of this scene just being Eric saying, "As you command, my lord," and that had a little spice to it. That had a little je ne sais quoi in it. He definitely felt as he walked away. Sir Eric was like, "Yeah, bitch." All right. So this next scene will be very interesting to talk about, even if there's not much to say. This is Aemond in the Pleasure House. Very curious of what your takes are on this.
So I'll take it. So obviously the headline is mommy issues, right? Of course. I think it's interesting because I've never thought of Aemond in a sexual way, meaning like in sexual situations. Like Aegon obviously fucks around, whether it's consensual or not. He has at least one bastard in the town. You know, Daemon tells Viserys last season that when we were Rhaenyra's age, we were romping around the brothels, we were doing this and that. So it's kind of tradition for these younger kids and guys to just be thinking about sex all the time. But to me, Aemon's always felt like he had other things to focus on, like training, etc. He wants to be the best.
Mhm.
He's always had a chip on his shoulder. So it was really interesting to see him in a brothel. I just never thought of him that way. But I'm not surprised that he's sort of stunted and seeking love of a mother figure in one of these brothels. So, Luke, you are the Aemon stan of the pod, I'd
Yes.
say. So, what did you
Yeah.
think of this? As I've seen on Twitter, like the Voldemort as like a baby clip
Yeah.
thing.
This came out of left field for me,
Yeah.
but is this not the same, for lack of better term, whore that he talked to in season 1?
It
The
is.
Okay, so it is. So it's like he's basically Homelander light, for a little crossover there, where he has that like attachment to a motherly figure, like you're just laying out, and it feels so weird to see this for the first time, like this deep into the show for him. Which I guess it's only like 4 or 5 episodes for this actor. I kind of like how layered he was in this scene, but I don't know how it can play out in like a meaningful way. Like he's not going to be like Homelander, I don't think. Like obsessed with motherly figures like that. But I do like that he showed regret for killing Luke again.
Yeah.
They reemphasized the fact that that was a mistake at the end of season 1 that caused all this to happen. So I like that he's not pure evil, even though he is like a vengeful type. And he also did seem like he was kind of, he's aware that Daemon, he says it out loud here, that he's aware that Daemon sees him as a threat, which he is. Like he has Vhagar. He's like the most powerful asset in the kingdom. I just don't know how this can evolve his storyline with him having these type of like internal mommy issues. But Kyle probably has some takes on that.
I don't think I have a ton of takes. I think this was actually shocking to me as well. It's always interesting when they being the showrunners can like take a general like idea or maybe something that's somewhat implied in the books and then expand it into such a visually interesting scene. I saw a lot of discussion on the internet of when she tries to kiss him and he says not here, like what that even means. Cause like if not in the pleasure house, like where else? Like it's not like he's getting her into the Red Keep for them to bang and do things. So I don't even know if I have a take on that. I don't even know what that meant, to be quite honest. He cuddles kind of deeper into her lap, and this was wild. It was wildly unexpected, I'll say, for me.
Because it couldn't be a visibility issue because they were already being seen together anyway. So what's the difference? I agree. I thought that was a little weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe someone, YouTube comments, Discord, something can shoot us. I haven't read enough that's convinced me any which way what it means, but I think Kathleen kind of nails it with just this mommy issue thing. It's just the exploration of what their upbringings have done for them. You know, Aegon, we've seen this desire to be loved, and he felt like he was neglected from his father. Seems like, yeah, Alicent almost is kind of afraid of Aemond, maybe it seems, and that seems to have had an impact on Aemond coming down the line and all that type of stuff. So I'm glad that they're doing this type of exploration with these characters.
And shout out to the Sapphire again, even though I do prefer the pirate look.
Yeah, Sapphire looks cool.
The Sapphire is cool when he like takes it off when he's vulnerable, I guess. But that is like our background right now. If you're watching on YouTube, give me that Aemon with the patch.
We'll get more of that Aemon. Don't worry about that. And perfect segue into this next scene is her just saying, when princes lose their temper, it's often the small folk like me that suffer. So will Aemon listen to that warning? Probably not, as much as we know of him. But
like he took it to heart, though, or like he was listening.
Fair. Yeah. That's like a TBD, something to watch, let's say, of whether that comes up for him again. But the segue being into this very, very quick scene with Hugh. He's just known as Hugh Hammer. He's a blacksmith that we saw last episode make the petition to Aegon. And this is just a scene that kind of shows us the impact on the blockade on a regular family in King's Landing. Just some hoarding and some price gouging. I like this scene because we didn't really get a ton of King's Landing, like small folk stuff in Game of Thrones. So it's just interesting. Didn't take up a ton of time. Enjoyed it. Successful.
Economic world building about prices.
Yeah. Worked for me. And it just shows you that Hugh still believes in Aegon. So there's that. But who does not believe in Aegon? Because moving into this next scene is going to be, this is Aegon's action, Otto's reaction, and Cole's promotion. Unbelievable. I was so captivated watching this for the first time. I literally, after the scene ended, I said, I cannot wait to watch that again. and it delivered hard on the second time too. So this is just fantastic television. I love how they start off with the perspective of just a guy who we don't even know. And I was thinking, like, who's this guy? Just walking. It just is a random nobody that's there to show us the shocking visual of the rat catchers being hung. And then moving into Otto's reaction and that whole, let's call it a conversation, quote unquote, because Otto did most of the talking. Just great television, man. This is Thrones.
They are fathers and brothers and sons. That was so good.
Oh,
Yeah.
excellent. You said you thought blood got off easy. Cheese got off really easy. Just a hanging? That's it?
Yeah,
That's
you're right.
easy.
No, you're totally right. Did he get tortured in the books, Kyle?
Now
Or
the
did it
blood
happen
thing
like
is
this?
the blood thing is that's actually interesting. Or rather, the cheese thing is that Otto is the one that hangs all the rat catchers and
Ooh.
then buys like a bunch of cats.
Really? That
Wait, that's
seems
iconic.
like a big. Well, that is awesome, but that seems like a huge change because of the implications of the Criston Cole room scene where he says like we squandered all the goodwill from the procession. How
Yeah,
did
well,
I
mean,
have
the
too many
procession
questions now in the
is
books, but
something.
I don't.
Yeah, the procession isn't really something that's talked about a ton in the books, where it being like Otto's thing. The order of events is very moved around because
Okay.
there's a lot of things that happen in between. Well, maybe not a lot of things, but the promotion of Cole and the demotion of Otto happens within like a lot of different circumstances. The overarching idea is still the Otto isn't doing enough for Aegon. So Aegon's like, screw you, I'm going to promote Criston Cole. And he does say the line in the books like, my hand is now a steel fist type of thing. So the idea around it is the same, but definitely the events that lead us there are different.
Okay.
Do we think that Otto is regretting making Aegon king, or is he just like truly like? Do you think he wishes Rhaenyra was queen? Like, you think that?
Aemon, I think, would have been more preferable.
Well,
Preferable.
duh. But how do you get? You got to kill one to get
Well,
to Aemon.
They had an option to do that when they found Aegon like hiding under the like. Wasn't it? Do you remember the whole the Eric and Eric scenes with Criston Cole? Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, I guess it's tough because Aegon was the option. I don't think he wanted Rhaenyra. I don't think he wants Rhaenyra necessarily now, but he's totally bathing in the consequences of Aegon and looking back with regret. I don't think he would necessarily change it, but maybe, yeah, the Aemons, maybe even Daron. We didn't talk about Daron at all in the first season. He wasn't an option technically, but yeah, it's tough. He is just it feels like he's more missing Viserys than he is like wanting to change a decision made after Viserys.
And he says that here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He says in the back and forth, he was like, he was right about you to Aegon. And Aegon said, he made me king. And just absolutely cutting, just being like, is that what you think? With a giggle.
Yeah.
It was fucking iconic. But Otto saying that, do you think that Otto just didn't even believe that what Viserys said to Alicent? Okay.
No.
Right.
That's interesting. That's
I don't
interesting.
think that there's anyone that knew Viserys, I would politically kingly like Otto. Alicent maybe knew the man on a personal level, like an intimate level, even though we kind of saw that they didn't spend a ton of time together as they had the children and grew older and things. But I think Otto would have the best grasp on that, and I don't think Otto believed for a millisecond that on his deathbed Viserys was like, yes, Aegon, do it.
And question, if Otto knew it was going to play out this way, is he evil enough where he would have had Aegon killed?
I would say yes. He feels like someone that would stoop to that level.
I love that.
Me too.
That's my take on it.
That's crazy, but I love it.
You know, I want to just say, because I feel like I was such an Otto hater in season 1. This episode made me absolutely agree, even though I agreed with this before, but like now I'm like, I can't agree more that Otto is an insanely like important part of this show, and he's what makes it so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was so glad that I said that on the hype episode where I said on my rewatch, I was just captivated by Otto so much more than when it was originally coming out. And then watching this episode, I was like, yes, yes.
And he's the most famous actor in the show, right? Probably. like has the most IMDb credits to different things, I would say.
Probably. I think
Probably
Patty
that,
was
yeah.
up there too.
Patty's
That's
probably
true.
up there. Matt Smith has been prolific lately.
Oh yeah.
Matt Smith's
Matt
up there
Smith.
too, yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I was thinking about Otto that we miss from Otto, and maybe this is by design, is like a lover that we can really see his like true intentions and thoughts, because that's when you really see people open up. Like later when we see, this is like on a really minute scale, but like Jace and Bela can talk about Harwin like openly and things like that. Like we don't get to see Otto kind of in intimate quarters talking plainly with somebody. He does that with Allison kind of, but it's not the same. I think he still puts on a front for Allison a lot of the time. But I think that's one thing we're missing from Otto. But again, I think it's not a bad thing that we don't always know Otto's true intentions or in what he's thinking exactly.
Keep that
I'll
mystery.
be honest. I think that he's always honest. I don't think he needs that level of vulnerability of an intimate partner to bounce off of. What was this scene if not just blatant honesty? He literally told Aegon, "You shouldn't be king. Your dad hated you, and he was right. You suck," basically.
Yeah.
So, and same thing
That's
with
true.
Allison. I don't think he lies to Allison ever. I think he's just locked the fuck in 24/7. He's just a pure gamer.
True.
That's just what this is. Just what he does.
Yeah.
That's
But
true.
let's spin it to Criston Cole real quick. The biggest shock of this episode to me was that he made Criston Cole the hand and not Lara Strong. I was convinced he was going to say
Yeah.
Lara Strong's my new hand. You guys agreement?
100%.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I knew it was going to happen, but yeah, that plays into the, what does he say? Instead of judgment, you display impetuousness. It's just Aegon thinks like 1 + 1 = 2. That's his level of analysis on things. Like you're not, Otto isn't giving me blood. Criston Cole will give me blood. Bang, you're the hand now.
Yeah.
There's no deeper analysis to anything.
Has that ever been that in history where the Lord Commander became the hand? And do you keep the title at the same time?
Not that I know of. I'm not exactly sure about the title thing. I would assume he's both at once. That's my take on it. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if the book has an actual sentence on it. It might. Someone smarter and with a better memory than me could probably tell you better. But yeah, he's just both now. Never happened before. Don't think it happens again. I think we'll find out why.
Okay.
It's never happened before and never happens again afterwards.
He just keeps failing up, man. Fuck Criston Cole.
I have that
so
same
great.
note. I have that same note in my, but I asked in the Discord if Cole can fuck now, like legally, but if he's both, then I guess still no.
I mean, there's nothing that gets rid of the vow of the Kingsguard. The Kingsguard is just a vow for life. I mean, he's taken an actual literal poop on that vow, but he's still technically, from the public facing aspect, is a knight of the Kingsguard, and therefore has a vow of chastity. But I don't even know, how much more detail to get into of this. There's just so many good quotes. I was talking on Twitter with some friends, and the dialogue, the writing was just so amazing in this episode. And we've mentioned it too, but just Rhys as Otto is just unbelievable. When Aegon points out to him that Criston Cole has acted, and he just turns and says, "Yeah, and what has Ser Criston Cole done?" It's just so perfect. And then Aegon tells him the plan, and he just shakes his head and goes, "God's help us all." It's just like, it's so perfect. He can't believe the position that he's in after all the hard work that he's put in, and he is just absolutely stewing in it. I just love it. I just love it.
My Aegon line that I loved was, "I have dared, and I find it stimulating." Like, how do I work that into my everyday?
I like when Aegon says he's going to be his twin. Brilliant.
Yeah. Brilliant plan. I love how Otto calls it. I love how Otto calls it a prank too. That's just such a nice little underhanded vocabulary choice there. And one thing I saw online too, and I feel bad because I didn't actually write down who said it, but they were basically mentioning this scene made them think Jace is really the grandson that Otto wanted.
Oh yeah.
If Otto could create a grandson, it would be Jace.
Yeah.
And if he just supported Rhaenyra's claim, then Jace and Helena would have been together. They would have sat the throne. They would have had children. Like, it just, Jace is the guy that he really, looking back, would have liked to guide and be in his hand through things. And yeah, I mean, that's a fuck around and find out type of deal right there.
Totally.
That is a fuck around and find out. All right.
I think we talked about the rest of this, but let's definitely talk about Darren a little bit more.
Yeah, so that's the main event of this, Otto and Allison speaking before him leaving. Although, actually, before we get to Darren, Kathleen, you asked the last episode if Otto, or maybe it was in the hype episode, if Otto was to be fired as hand, like, do you think he would hang around or would he leave? And I mentioned that he would probably hang around just to try to keep an eye on things. But it's so funny that he literally addresses that here, and he's like, I can't, like, I have to leave. Like, I can't just be here and watch all of the work burn down, essentially. So
Yeah.
I thought that was funny that they just made my answer very wrong, which is perfectly fine. It's okay to be wrong sometimes.
So he's going to High Garden.
I guess it wasn't very clear. It's like, will he follow his own desire to go to Old Town, or does he agree with Allison that he should go to High Garden and deal with the Tyrell Bannerman? That was a nice little drop. Keep it in your pocket for the future, that their Bannermen are not really falling into line like they wanted to. So
I'm gonna guess that he goes to High Garden because I don't remember seeing who Darren got casted as.
He's not in the season. I think it was already revealed that Darren is
There you
in
go.
next season, probably.
yeah,
And for
hasn't
what it's
been
worth,
cast.
that is like hands down the biggest misstep of season 1 by the writers. There was no reason to not throw dialogue at us
Yeah.
just
totally.
offhandedly. So,
Especially,
and they have a
because-
dragon down there too, by the way. So.
Yeah, especially because they did it right here. It was one
Yeah.
sentence.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been done. It could have been like, I don't know. Yeah, that kind of is what it is. But, and just to wrap this up, I love Otto's quote: "The young are peacocks, all shrieking in feathers, but we will yet prevail and bring forth peace. I still believe it, as long as you and I hold fast." So they are really solidifying themselves as, let's say, the minds, the brains in Team Green, although they have really no power at this point. So that's got to be a little frustrating, that you think you're the brains, you think you have the best idea, but it's the brawn, it's the impetuousness, it's the revenge seekers that actually have the authority and the power at the moment. So Otto's like, I can't be a part of that shit. And then Kathleen mentioned it too. Allison tries to confess, and I laughed out loud when he said, I don't care. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, I've been through enough today. It's been a terrible day. Your son is an asshole. I really don't care what you've been getting up to.
Go sin all you want.
Yeah, especially because, Kyle, last episode, you had made a comment that you thought Otto already knows. So it's like, if Otto already knows the sin that she's ready to confess, he's like, I'm cool. It's fine. Like, there's bigger fish to fry.
Yeah. Don't say it out loud.
Yeah.
Don't say it.
Don't make it real. Don't gross me out. Okay.
Yes. So then this last little scene is going to be Allison sins ... again. We mentioned Allison going to Aegon's chambers. Don't need to talk about that again. Going back to her chambers, Cole's sitting on the bed. Dude, Lord Commander of the Rizguard. He knew it was going to work. So she just slaps him up a couple times and they get to business. My line here is, this is a man, all caps. This guy. He just gets what he wants.
About Cole. I'm done talking about it. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm glad she got some slaps in. That's for sure.
This better be the most screen time he gets the whole season is this episode.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, he's literally the hand of the king. He's the hand of the king and the Lord Commander of the King's Guard now. Yeah. So you pretty much can't get rid of him. And I like this. I saw this on Twitter. It's at Randalena. So it's just saying that I've come to understand Cole as a character much more in these episodes, and now I'm fascinated by him. He hates himself and is seeking punishment, but gets rewarded instead. So he's brought into Allison's innermost ring, made Lord Commander, made Hand of the King, and the more he benefits and the more he gains from his sins, the angrier and more unhinged he gets. He pushes and pushes, picking for a fight often, yet rather than the pain, the retribution he expects, he gets rewards and promotions and more. And it's just, he's benefiting from all of the ways where he's trying to almost commit suicide, let's say, by mistakes, by transgressions, and it's just working out for him. His face when he gets promoted is like, what? He's just like, all right, man, I'm banging your mom. This is great. I'm fucking killing it right now. All right. So moving now into Team Black. And this is, I'm not exactly sure how we want to take this first group of scenes, because we have the Rhaenyra's council where she learns the truth, and then we have the scene where she confronts Daemon about the truth. And I don't know if that's too much to take at once. I don't know how much we even want to say about the council scene beyond it's hilarious watching Daemon watch everyone else speak up and give their opinion while he knows the fucking truth about everything. But
claps to Rhaenys, who just knows without even death. Okay, and she just looks right at Daemon. He just side eye overs to her. It's so funny.
He's like kind of smiling too. He has this faintest little curl in the corner of his mouth. Man, he is a bastard.
Luke, I'm wondering, since you are an Daemon guy, did this change your opinion of Daemon at all, this scene?
This and the conversation with Rhaenyra, which I was talking about earlier.
Right, that's what I meant.
It's rubbing me the wrong way, unfortunately.
Totally.
Because we know he's selfish, but we get over it because of his love for Rhaenyra, and it's starting to show that that's not really as strong as I want it to be. I don't know where it goes from here, but I think he went to Harrenhal to kind of get back in her good graces.
This is a bad man. Like, he can like punch her at any time. And I think
she like guarded her neck. She was like,
yeah, we saw it last season.
Yeah.
He chokes her out last season. So I think Rhaenyra's line when she says, "I don't know what you are, who it is you serve," is perfect, because we really don't know Daemon's true intention. And I think we all thought, Daemon rides for Rhaenyra, and Daemon is a huge asset to Rhaenyra. Like, if you don't have Daemon and Caraxes, like, fuck, that's huge. That's a gigantic hit. But Daemon is just like so twisted in what he thinks like strength and bravery is. It's like, it all goes back to Rhaenyra questioning whether she should even act last season, because it's like, my duty is to the realm. Should I cause a war just so my ass is in the throne? Like, maybe I shouldn't. And he can't see that. He has no idea what that even means. He's like, we're fighting war. And I kind of forgot that Daemon was the heir before Rhaenyra. I can't lie. I totally forgot that. Was he like the named heir prior to the season starting, right? Like, we didn't see anyone name him heir. It was just like, he's the presumed heir because there is no son of Viserys.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. Because I kind of just slipped my mind. So
you nailed that. Like, he just has no perspective, and the conversation turns to him having no perspective from Viserys's point of view. How he always says he feared me. He didn't fear you. He just didn't trust you, just like I can't now. So, Kathleen, as the biggest Rhaenyra stan on the podcast, do you see a pathway back to them being a happy couple, even just for a couple of episodes? I know that's not the end game probably, but like, are they going to mend, or is this like a split that's going to stay forever?
I mean, I think we need, as a Team Black fan, like Zen stan, we need him. We need him. And even if you go to like the Corlys and Rhaenys conversation, where Corlys is like, you don't think Daemon's gonna like try and be get the throne, do you? And like go over Rhaenyra's head. So no, I think that if Rhaenyra is smart, she'll at least make up with Daemon to fight. But I don't know that after this that they'll be like a happy couple. I mean, they're never going to be Corlys and Rhaenys. They're the dream couple of Westeros. But what do you think? I think we need him.
Yeah, for sure. Like,
totally.
Who is even on our side right now besides the Valyrian fleet? And then we have the dragons, of course, but if he goes rogue, I think everything falls apart on the military side.
If the rogue prince goes rogue.
Yeah, it's true. But
the
I
rogue
will say,
name was from everything before now. Now he's the loyal Rhaenyra prince.
I don't mean to jump ahead, but Baela becoming a larger part with Moondancer is great. I'm glad they're bringing her in, and we can talk about it more, but that's another dragon, that we haven't really gotten to see in action, or really get to see Baela in action at all.
Yeah, so I was gonna say dragon. I mean, this is a character we haven't really
totally
seen a ton of.
I love
it. I was glad that she got some scenes, and we'll talk about the Jace and her, I guess, very briefly. I just want to give a shout out again to the writing in this scene. It was the dialogue and the acting, just unbelievable. This conversation was so compelling, and Daemon is, let's say, practical to an extreme. He is. They talk about it in season 1. No one really alive has fought in wars. He has a lot of this battle experience. And while, yes, it's impractical, it's immoral to do a lot of the things that he's done, his mindset is purely on, we need to win this war as quick as possible. That's really what he's thinking. He wants to win the war. And yeah, that makes him untrustworthy because Rhaenyra can't handle him from like a PR perspective. He does indulge himself quite often. But like you're saying, Kathleen, he's the sword, he's the weapon that the Blacks have. So that just creates an unbelievably interesting dynamic where, yes, she needs him, but can you trust him? He is the most like double-edged sword you've ever seen in Game of Thrones.
And he does apologize. I don't know how genuine it is, and what he does in next episode will determine how genuine, but we'll see.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot of good quotes here. I'm not going to say all of them, but I just really enjoyed Rhaenyra's quote of, your heart belongs only to you. And when I was a child, I took this as a challenge, but I'm older now and I have challenges enough.
Ooh.
And that was just such an interesting way to characterize their relationship and all the things that we saw in season 1. And especially when you could say, like, what does she even see in Daemon? How could you love someone like this? And that just quote fits her personality so well. And it shows the growth that she's had, the journey that she's been on, where she's like, I have too much going on. She's honestly like Otto like that. It's like, I got challenges enough, man. Like, I don't really need to deal with this right now. So yeah. And that's all I have from this.
Yep.
Also, I was a little bit shocked with the last line she says to him being, you're pathetic. That felt like, whoa, I don't think he'll take that very well. He obviously doesn't take that very well. He leaves, but it will be interesting the next time they speak to see how they deal with that.
I will say Daemon's armor is so fucking sick. Like him on Cracks is like flying out. I'm like, sheesh, I hate this guy sometimes, but damn.
The way
Caraxes
they did the
is the best dragon.
Yeah, the way they did the shot was really cool too, where Caraxus's head comes out of the dark first, and then it's the really long neck, and then you see Daemon, and the shot of Caraxus flying looks great. That long boy. All right, very quickly, an important scene, a scene again I didn't expect. Shocking. This isn't something that's in the book due to the nature of the book, but Jace and Baela having this conversation. They're talking about dads, and Baela thinks that she hates Daemon pretty often, which feels very warranted, and then I was really shocked at how open and honest they were about Sir Harwin. This was unexpected.
Yeah, it's just a conversation that needed to happen. And now that we know Jace is very comfortable with it, who cares at this point? They're already cast out from King's Landing.
Yeah, it's funny because, correct me if I'm wrong, Baela is the one who Daemon actually spent time with back in the day, right? Because she had the dragon and Rhaena was left off. She was like, Dad doesn't even fucking look at me. What the hell?
Yeah.
So that's interesting. But one, the conversation with Baela and Rhaenyra I thought was interesting because she's like, can you patrol King's Landing on Moondancer? Moondancer is like the best dragon name ever. That's the one I would want because of name only. And I think it's scary to send Moondancer to patrol. How are you so high that they can't see dragons, but she can see down and patrol?
They got those Valyrian eyes.
Sure. Okay.
That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah. But anyway, I thought this Jason Baela scene was so sweet. They're going to become huge characters, I assume, right? They're the next gen. They're going to be fighting in this war. They both have dragons. You can tell they actually enjoy each other's company, which is rare, especially in these like arranged marriages type deal. I wonder if we'll get to see their marriage, if they'll even get there. Hopefully they do. But
what's the delay?
That's a good question.
That is a good question.
There's been a lot going on. There's a lot on a lot of people's plates, I guess, is the take there. This only happened. This was, I think, this happens at season 1. So maybe they were just waiting for them to become of age. And then things really started to hit the fan very quickly with Luke's dying, the whole Viserys dies, usurpation, all of this stuff. So
actually, think about this. They were like betrothed to each other when Vaemond got his head chopped off. That night the next night they have dinner with Viserys. Viserys dies that night. It's only been maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Yeah. That's crazy to think about.
Yeah, it is. It's been 2 years for us.
That. Yeah. Yeah, right.
Yeah. So
that's
they don't seem to be in a huge rush at the moment.
That's true.
Yeah.
I really loved them talking about Laenor too. It's so nice to hear that Jace has this positive look on him where he taught us to fish, to sing sea shanties, which is hilarious. I could see all of them singing like arms around each other, like young Jace and Luke just trying to belt out some songs. And then he had a weakness for cake. It's just nice that we get a little Rhaenyra. We always liked Rhaenyra, and we're glad kind of he got the ending that he got.
Definitely.
Yeah, and then just ending on a very sad note though, with Jace just saying, "I miss Luke."
No.
Which is fair. I mean, it's only been, like you said, it's been at most maybe a week, 2 weeks since he's learned. So that's just tough. And I will say again, just to put it out there into the world, there is a little bit of foreshadowing going on in this scene as well. So they're doing a good job of placing things and quotes and lines and situations with characters.
Oh, Luke's getting resurrected.
That'd be wild. So we'll move now into probably another unexpected scene. I would say maybe a scene people, I don't want to say they didn't like it, but are probably curious about and was kind of like, oh, this is interesting. Like I didn't expect this, and I don't really know who these guys are. But this is the brothers of Hull kind of reuniting. So we met Alan last week. This bald brother, not balder. Well, I guess you're balder than everyone if you're bald, but he's who we saw talking to Corlys, gives him the knife that the blacksmith made for Luke, and we just meet his brother Adam here. So Alan seems like the sailor. Adam is a shipwright. They just chat about the war coming up. Adam seems quite ambitious, while Alan's not very ambitious. And then they speak a little bit about Lord Corlys.
And we're doing the second scene too, where Adam sees. Is that not Rhaenyra's dragon?
So that was Sea Smoke. Yes, that was Rhaenyra's dragon.
Because it was pure white. So that was definitely a thing. And that's going to be, somebody's going to ride Sea Smoke again. That's going to be awesome. Should be probably Rhaela, right? Rhaela, is that her name?
Rhaena.
Yeah.
That's fun. I didn't even clock that, and I waited for you to tell my note is what dragon was that, because I just assumed it was Moondancer, like ripping it to King's Landing, because I don't know what, unless it's Caraxes or Vhagar, like I'm not going to be able to tell what's what.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
and I guess from what I remember, we haven't seen Moondancer, but it's probably safe to assume, like you're thinking Moondancer is a white, light-colored dragon, but we actually haven't seen Moondancer yet, so there's no confirm nor deny on that. But yes, this was Sea Smoke.
I bet Moondancer's beautiful. I bet she's beautiful.
Not like Sunfire.
Yes, right? Yeah, that's Aegon's dragon.
Sorry, not Sunfire. What's Helena's?
Rhaenyra rides Dreamfire.
That's the beautiful one, right?
No, Sunfire is.
No, Sunfire. I mixed it up, I think, when we talked about it in season 1, but I believe it's Sunfire.
I remembered that, so that's your fault.
Maybe I'm mixing it up right now. Who can say? Like I said earlier, it's okay to make mistakes, people. It's okay to make mistakes. Shout out Criston Cole. So I don't know if we have anything else to say about these scenes.
No.
Okay, cool. Didn't think so. So this next scene is kind of continuing this thread on Corlys. So because he was mentioned in the last scene, now it's Corlys and Rhaenys chatting in bed. This is just an interesting conversation. I'm glad we got it. Corlys being a little vulnerable, admitting that, hey, sometimes I like to be dominated. So that was nice.
They have the best pillow talk, man. Anytime they're pillow talking, it's a good scene.
Agreed.
Okay, that's all we got.
Yeah, I don't think.
Yeah, we hit on the part before where they're questioning what Daemon's going to do. So that was the most important part of this conversation. So, but I always trust Rhaenys' head. Wherever she's at, I'm at.
I agree.
Yeah,
that's fair. Okay, so now we have Rhaenyra speaking with Mysaria. Curious, Luke, what you were thinking of her getting even more screen time in this episode. But the biggest thing here is, I would say, not really even a huge thing, but it's just Rhaenyra and Mysaria kind of bonding almost over this experience they've had with Daemon. And then Mysaria just admitting that she was naive to ever think that men like Daemon or Otto would accept her. So she's kind of just renouncing her previous life and is no longer a tool to be used in this war.
I'm looping this in with the second Mysaria scene where she gets released and let go. My two comments are, I thought they did a good job of planning. Well, maybe not. I thought that there was a chance she was gonna become Team Black Spider or Master of Spies, right?
Master of Whispers.
Well, Whispers. Yes. Whispers. That's the term. And then the second piece is, did she alert Sir Eric about Sir Eric off screen? Because I hate that they didn't show something there.
She alerted somebody.
Yeah, it's to be implied. I agree that it wasn't handled very cleanly or well, but I also saw that when HBO sent the episodes to people like screenish to people, and something they'll give you like a list of things like you absolutely cannot reveal, and on it was that Missaria alerts the guards to Eric or
The
about Eric.
reason that's important is because if we don't have that information, it's almost like she did the opposite and didn't say anything after getting Rhaenyra's trust. So that's why it was a little weird that they did that. But I guess I'll give her a little bit of respect for actually doing that because Ser Eric shows up directly after that. So that it did, that's what I assumed, but I wasn't sure.
Well, she does say, hold up, wait, stop.
Yeah.
I think that's the assumption. Okay, she's stopping, she's turning around, she's going to do something. So
Right, but if
Yeah.
she clocked it and then specifically didn't do something, it would make her more of a
Oh,
villain.
yeah. If she just kept walking, oh, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Definitely.
I think if it's just that scene, like you can infer
Mhm.
that's something, but it just was odd the way that I guess maybe how slow the news got back to the castle, let's say, because if she would have said something right there, like Eric was walking up to the castle, like it felt like something could have happened immediately before he got inside. But we watch him walk in, he's walking through the hallways, we see Eric walk past him. Like it just felt like an odd speed
Yeah.
at which the information was traveling. But nonetheless, it's not a huge deal because we get Eric coming into Dragonstone. He comes into Rhaenyra's bedchamber, draws the sword, says, "Believe me, I had no choice," and then all hell breaks loose.
What a scene, dude. This scene was awesome.
Yeah. But can you both give me some props, please?
Of
Yeah.
course, yes. Rhaenyra the Cruel, living up to her
Which-
name and getting the first point on the Deadpool.
Yeah. I was worried. I texted Kyle. I was like, because I saw some tweets being like that this was something that people were waiting for, I guess. And I was like, fuck, I hope nobody thinks I cheated and like read it somewhere, but I really didn't. I didn't want it to happen because it like I was obviously team Eric, but I don't think Eric was wrong with sticking with green. I think that like you would really have to feel some type of way strongly towards Rhaenyra to be Eric and cross the sea and go find her at Dragonstone. But you know, it's crazy that Cole did this because he truly gave up a true loyal knight and a good sword that they could have used in the war now because of this. And now, I mean, they lost one too, but still, it's crazy.
Well, if it worked, it's over.
It almost worked. It did.
I
It
know.
almost worked.
And one of my favorite parts about this scene was how they included Rhaenyra's attempt to escape the room. Like, and she was involved in the fight almost. I thought that was
Yeah.
genius.
Well,
And when they have Sir Laurent come in and he's like, "Which one's Eric?" That would that would be what would be happening. Like, I'm here to help, but who the fuck do I help?
Yeah.
I honestly wish Rhaenyra was trained a little bit with a sword to protect herself. Like I wish she was a little bit more like Arya because she was giving Arya vibes in the beginning when she like hopped off her dragon and was like defying, you know, as Millie's version of her, just like flying on the dragon whenever she wants, kind of, you know, doing whatever. I thought she would be more kind of like Arya in that sense, but she's not. But that's okay. And watching Rhaenyra in bed, like eyes agape, being like, what's going on?" was so funny. It was scary. It was bad.
Dude, so many emotional beats in this quick scene. Like when Eric has Eric like pinned up against the wall. "You parted us, but I still love you, brother." Like that was just such a good line. And I'm actually so mad at Eric for going through with this. Like, fuck Criston Cole. It's not more honorable to defend what Criston Cole wants when you know you didn't do anything wrong, when you love your brother. This is your day one, your family. It just hurts to watch this. I'm so team Eric. Number 2 in the alphabet, number 1 in our hearts.
So true.
Yeah, it's hard. People had an issue with the scene only purely of I don't know what the hell's going on, which is the point. Like you're experiencing the scene the same way the characters in the room are experiencing the scene. People mentioned too that the slash on the leg was inconsistent, but I took it that it was Eric pinning Eric down.
Because the one with the slash is the one that commits seppuku at the end, who says "Your Grace," implying that it was Eric.
But the guy with the slash gets knocked down and is then then rolls onto his stomach and crawls for his sword, picks it up, stands, and then is impaled.
Yeah. I think they both have something on their knee.
I don't know. I think I watched it. I don't know.
They both do get cut on the leg, which didn't help at all. But yeah. So
Eric played dirty when Eric said the line, still love you, then he shoves his fingers in the cut. Is that not what happened?
No, I think Eric shoved his finger in
Yes.
Eric's knee. Then he falls. He crawls to the sword, stands up and goes. Woof. Eric gets him
Yeah.
right through the tummy.
Like the person that gets the fingers dug into their leg falls to the ground, rolls over, crawls to the sword, picks up the
Yes.
sword, and is overhanding, gonna come down with it, and then gets stuck through.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
believe you, but I'll believe
I mean,
you.
we'll see. There's different opinions people have on the scene, but
Eric is the one saying you parted us because Eric left. Why would Eric say you parted us if he's the one who
That's
left?
true.
yeah,
Damn,
Yeah.
that's true.
yeah.
In the after thing, one of the producers or someone says like these two, like for lack of better words, like royals are mad at each other. So now these brothers have to kill each other and die. It's so unfortunate and so
Mhm.
sad. Honestly, I'll miss these two actors. I think they were really good. I liked Eric and Eric both.
Thought they were gonna
Yeah.
last a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For sure.
it's tough. It's interesting too that this is a very famous event in Westeros history. I tried to look for it in Game of Thrones, this show, but in the books, they get mentioned in like almost every book, where it's like Sansa is in love with like the story and the song that comes from it. She
Ooh.
mentioned like Joffrey's making fun of Tommen for crying, and Sansa's like, well, Eric and Eric died. They were members of the Kingsguard and they died with tears on their eyes, like things like that. Like it's okay to
Oh.
cry type of stuff. So they get brought up like a decent amount, let's say,
In the book or the show, did you say?
in the book. I tried to
Okay.
watch in the show to see if they said it, but I couldn't find the scene. And truth be told, I gave up. But I just love it. It's just a classic. I won't even want to say like a Shakespearean tragedy of just they feel like they have no choice. Eric even enters the room and says, "Believe me, I had no choice." So
Mhm.
all of this was just good. I was shocked that Eric falls on his sword because the accounts they give in the book aren't like that. The accounts waver from the fact that they fought. One account is that they killed each other. They mortally wound each other. And then Mushroom's account, always being the wildest account, is that Eric like cleaved Eric's arm off and then like killed him. And then like Eric stuck a dagger in Eric's gut and it took Eric 4 days to die while he cursed his brother the whole time.
Mm.
So I just none of that implied that
Mhm.
Eric rather was going to fall onto his sword. And so that was shocking, I think, to everyone watching the show, which is great.
And my small complaint is that killed him way too quickly. I think he just stabs himself in the stomach and then he's just dead. Wouldn't that take a little bit of time to bleed out a bit? I don't know.
My thought would be that it had a decent upward trajectory and maybe it severed his spine, which wouldn't
I like
kill
that.
you instantly, but would
So he was just sitting there alive, just like
yeah.
bleeding out.
I
Okay,
guess
that's
so.
fine too.
Yeah, I guess so. We want to get technical on it. But
Um,
I'm curious of what you guys took from your grace, like I'm sorry. And then like what was he thinking in that scene? Do you think it was the grief was overcoming him, or was there another reason why he did that?
Oh, 100%. He was not going to be able to live with himself regardless, but he did his duty, and now he's apologizing for having to abandon his post.
Yep.
You have to honor that, and she does. I don't remember if it's in the trailer for next scene or if it happens where I think they get buried together or something.
It's the trailer
So,
for
like,
next episode. But
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
Poor Rhaenyra, man. She has gone through a lot in these past few days, and to have this happen like in your bedroom, like in this intimate quarters, to just be like, nowhere is safe for me. Quite literally, nowhere is safe. It's brutal.
Well,
Banger though, man.
there's
What
no
No,
more
such a
twins.
banger.
There's no more twins anymore, so maybe she is safer. The twin
That's
plan can
true.
only work one. Oh, I
True.
guess it could probably work it could work for as many twins as you have, and there's only one set of twins. So, and that's what's interesting because people online were saying, and it might even been from an official source of, they also took it as he realizes that there's no way that they could ever trust that it's Eric, like he's Eric, that Eric won.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's really no indication that it's Eric or Eric.
Right.
And we're supposed to know because he says your grace, and Eric wouldn't have said that to her. Eric probably would have went through with it, but that was interesting. I didn't take from it that at all. I thought it was the pure, I just killed my brother and I'm out here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how I
But
took it.
that was an interesting way I thought to take the scene. So I figured I would bring it up. And that's going to be it. So if there's no more
One
some's
more
brewing.
thing. I didn't get to talk about the Massaria scene at all, but I have one thing. So Rhaenyra looks at her after they kind of talk about Daemon and says, how'd you get that scar? Are we thinking that like she's like, oh, Damon must have punched you or like or like gave you that scar or something? Because it was kind of after they were like commiserating about that son of a bitch, and then she said like that was a weird thing to say. If not like, oh, was it Damon?
Maybe she related to her a little bit, and that's what led her to release her the next scene. Because you're right, like it could have been a Damon flashback of like her getting her neck choked and stuff.
I didn't see where the scar even was. Where was it? I like looked both times and couldn't
I
find.
thought it was. I couldn't either, but I thought her neck had a weird lighting that I thought it was like a neck thing.
I also thought it was something on her neck. The TV I watched on wasn't like spectacular, so
Okay. Well, I'm gonna assume that means that they were like Damon beats us both up sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Relating
okay.
to each other on a
All right, that's it.
domestic abuse.
that is unfortunately a good assumption.
Yeah.
Oh. And anyway, I will say Massaria, I liked her a lot more in this episode than I did last episode, probably just because she's riding for our girl now and helping us a little bit. But in general, I didn't mind the Massaria scenes at all.
Yeah, no, I actually agree. I didn't really hate on him earlier. Hopefully it didn't sound like I did.
No, you didn't.
Let me go first for MVP, LVP, because my Wi-Fi sucks, so I'll take the easy, low-hanging fruits here. But MVP is just going to be Ser freaking Eric. That's the easiest one.
Oh.
Wait, whoa, that surprised you?
Yeah. Because I thought the obvious one is the obvious one, and I'll say it next.
Okay, maybe I'm missing an obvious one. Maybe I don't know. But Ser Eric was a beast, and this played out in one of the best ways possible. I couldn't imagine it happening this early, but it did. I'm happy, and hopefully we get a nice send-off for them next episode. That's an easy answer. My LVP, also super easy answer. Criston Cole, hold this for me, you bitch. He is the #1 worst character in House of the Dragon in terms of how much I hate him. And I think he's officially the third in all of Game of Thrones universe for how much I have him on my hit list, being Joffrey, Ramsay, Criston Cole.
Wow. Marry, fuck, kill.
Killing Joffrey, banging Criston Cole. Oh, God. Banging Criston Cole, marrying Ramsay.
Yeah, definitely. Oh,
yeah.
You're insane. Are you kidding me?
You gotta
marry Criston Cole.
You gotta
marry
Criston Cole.
Yeah, he's not actually sadistic at the level of these other guys. Probably bang Joffrey and then kill Ramsay. You can't be in a room with Ramsay at all.
That's true.
Joffrey's the same though.
No, I could be in a room alone with Joffrey.
That's true.
Yeah.
Kick his ass a little bit.
Yeah, totally rough him up a little bit.
I literally was in like a one-track mind. You were like, bang Criston Cole, and I was like, definitely. Because I wasn't thinking about the other choices. I'm just like, yep, yes, I would. Anyway, my MVP is Otto. My first time ever giving Otto an MVP. I just think not only was the acting phenomenal, but he's in the middle this episode. I feel like he's playing a good game for Team Green, but also like Aegon is like doing dumb things and he's able to be like, bro, stop. Like we gotta steer the ship straight. And then my LVP will be Damon.
My MVP is going to be Ser Criston Cole.
Oh, you're sick.
He gets promoted. His plan nearly works. And he still gets to bang the Queen Dowager or the Dowager Queen. He's just stacking W's at this point. It's hard to deny. And then LVP, I will go with Allison because just a rough showing from our girl.
Bad mother.
The mother was not mothering very hard. She was more scheming and queening than mothering when we really needed mother. So that's what I'll say there.
And did you guys give a hot take?
I don't have one. I don't really have like something super hot, and I don't want to make one up.
Okay. My hot take probably will just be that I think this is the best House of the Dragon episode and one of my maybe top 5 favorite Game of Thrones episodes.
That's a good
I'll
answer.
be interested after this season to see if that sticks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll keep track. And we've already mentioned it, but just as a little wrap up, Lean is currently in the lead of our House of the Dragon death pool.
And did you pick Eric or Eric?
I picked Eric to die.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, we can recap the death pool maybe in the middle. If people are joining us for the first time, if you want to listen to our hype episode, you'll see. If you want to look at our Twitter, you'll see. If you want to join our Discord, you'll see the death pool picks. So that's going to do it for episode 2, Rhaenyra the Cruel. We'll be back each week, just breaking it down like we always do. And yeah, so thank you all for listening. We appreciate you guys. We love you guys. If you want more of us and you want to support us, the best way is just going to be subscribe on whatever you're listening or watching on. You can join the Discord if you want to keep chatting with us. Feel free to tweet at us on Twitter at Bingetown TV. Same thing, all socials, Instagram, TikTok. We make clips of things. And like I mentioned at the top as well, if you're listening on the House of the Dragon feed, that is specific for this show. Bingetown TV is its own feed that has all of our episodes. So we're currently covering The Boys. We're just wrapped up Dark Matter this week, which is bittersweet because what a fantastic ride and television show that was.
Definitely.
The Bears coming down the pike/pipe, whichever way you subscribe to that phrase. And yeah, speaking of subscribe, you should subscribe to us. That's all I got. Thank you so much for listening.
Mwah.